What is up, guys? Welcome back to round 3 of this 2019 modded career mode. Apologies in advance for this one. My dumbass just completely skipped through after the race was finished, so there's none of the cinematic type broadcastings that has been in previous episodes, and a little bit of the end where we check out the R&D before the race. Nothing like that, so apologies for that. Leading up to this race, we had one R&D part to come in, and it didn't come in. It failed, unfortunately. But so we just jump straight into qualifying. Do what we can. We tried the first run on the soft compound tyre. Didn't really go to plan. We was the slowest car at the time, so we had to go around again and try and set a little bit of a better lap time, which we did indeed. But obviously, it was still on the cusp of 15th. So unfortunately, soft tyre run didn't work out as much as we planned. So you can see we're in 19th. But coming up to the end of Q1, we do set a better time. Puts us up in the P6, which obviously puts us through. Just ahead of Kubica, Albon, Russell, Kvyat, and our teammate. Again, Kimi is really struggling in this car, so hopefully the upgrades will work. But Q2, we set a time, was comfortable. I figured, we'll just sim the session. There's no point going out again. Try and save tyres that obviously we lost in the first session. But as you can see, 4 minutes to go. We're comfortable at the moment. But we dropped down again, and with less than 30 seconds to go, we dropped down 2 places, and obviously by that point it's incredibly too late, so we just miss out. No thanks to Carlos Sainz, so that was a bit disappointing, not making it into Q3. I think, I'd say for the first time, obviously we didn't make it through in the last race full stop, but Australia obviously was a great qualifying, and then this one, it's not great. So our qualifying at the moment is a little bit all over the place. Obviously, we had a good one in Australia. Bahrain was dreadful. This one's better than Bahrain, but still not on the same kind of level as Australia. So obviously we need to work on that and get back up to speed, because obviously that cost us quite a few positions last race. Obviously we could have improved quite dramatically considering what happened to the rest of the field. So we'll have to see how it goes today. On pole position again is Sebastian Vettel for the third time. This time Valtteri Bottas on alongside of him, Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton in 4th place. Then behind him you've got a full line of Renaults, followed by Verstappen and Magnussen. So the Renaults are doing a smashing job at the moment. Perez and Sainz, followed by ourselves and Pierre Gasly. We've obviously didn't have a great one. Lance Stroll, Lando Norris, alongside Kimi Raikkonen, Danny Kvyat and Grosjean with another penalty. He's got a 66.6% record of grid penalties so far this season. Albon and Kubica on the back of the grid. So it's raining as well. If I don't think I mentioned that, but yeah, it's raining here in China. But it was Hamilton though, the guy we're obviously focusing on the warm-up laps. He needs to get on the mark here. He has could have had a good chance to win last time out, but obviously couldn't make it work because we hindered him a little bit. Pierre Gasly, guy a little bit further down the field, hopefully going to make up some ground, and he's going to be making some moves, especially on us in the early beginning of the race. Sebastian Vettel, again, third time on pole position, so I'm going to have to see how he does and see if he can convert it. Somewhat similar to Bahrain, but it's going to be difficult, especially in these kind of conditions. You can't really tell what's going to happen here, so it's just going to be difficult for all the drivers really, and it's going to be an absolute nightmare, especially for ourselves being in a position with Gasly behind us. Got the lights on and they're off just as quick as that. Not even a chance to announce the lights are gone, but Pierre Gasly storming that round our outside. He's got off to a flying start. We lose one position, obviously get a little warning there for Pierre just coming up right around the outside. Trying to get a bit more better traction out here on the outside of the circuit, but Gasly's holding him inside as it's going to get really tight here, and Pierre's actually going to push us onto the grass, and going to have to fend off him just for a little bit longer. But that was a little bit cheeky from Pierre himself. Managed to maintain our positions. It wasn't a great start, got a bit of wheel spin, but yeah, Gasly flew off the start. We're going to have a look into this corner, this hairpin of sorts, but I can tell you guys now that wasn't an overtaking attempt. I just couldn't slow the car down, and somehow worked out for our favour. So we got 2 positions in one corner in a sense. So that was fantastic for us. Moving a little bit more forward onto that lap, you can see Carlos Sainz is now coming back at us as we get into the hairpin on nearly the end of lap 1. So we're going to have to fend him off as well. So we're going to be doing a lot of defending by the looks of it so far this race. We've got Kevin Magnussen just ahead of us as well. So Magnussen going really slowly. We're going to have to take a wide berth there to try and actually get past him, because can't be losing our front wing in this race, especially not. So gonna have to do what we can. It's going to be a difficult race, especially with the ever-changing conditions. You can see we're just drifting out wide all over the place, trying to catch the car as it's just slipping and sliding all over the track. We can't. It's almost at the crossover point already, which was quite difficult. Too soon to put on soft tyres, but at the same token, you can't really get a lot of traction on these intermediates. But having a look at Kevin Magnussen, and he's just a little bit too far, is he? Maybe not. We're gonna just about slow it down and give Magnussen, a little tap, as he made us go off the circuit by holding us up. So no love lost there between K-Mag. Coming on the end of lap 4, most of us dive in the pits. Unfortunately for Leclerc, he actually had to stay out because Ferrari didn't double stack their cars. So Leclerc's going to lose time. But you can see on the right hand side, Mercedes have double stacked, so that's going to work out pretty well for them. Bottas is going to lose out, and the Renault boys are also double stacking. So Hulkenberg, I think, is going to be struggling quite a bit. We're going to jump in, obviously well ahead of our teammate. Kimi will come in as well. One car goes ahead of us here. Ricardo's in, and we actually managed to jump Bottas and Gasly and Hulkenberg. So interesting pit stop race. We've moved up the order quite a little bit. We've got Ricardo just ahead of us. He's actually being held up by Toro Rosso of Daddy Kvyat. So Kvyat hasn't pitted. They made him stay out a little bit longer, which is obviously good news for us. But you can see we're right up the back of Ricardo, and we're going to get much better traction on these ultra soft tyres. They're on the soft tyres. They're going for a slightly different strategy than we are, but trying to make up as much time as possible in this early stint. Kvyat is actually now holding us up, which is somewhat ironic, but for sure we're going to get better traction out of this hairpin, and we're going to have to go around the outside. He is going to squeeze us though, almost into the grass from the torpedoes. That wasn't exactly very nice of him, but I'm just going to come along and we're just going to power along as quick as we can on these ultra soft tyres. So we move up to P4, P3 even, sorry, P3, and now Lance Stroll's actually made his pit stop. Didn't quite come out ahead of Charles Leclerc, but Alexander Albon out of this race. Valtteri Bottas is now close up to the back of us come lap 8, and we're going to have to kind of defend from him a little bit. We're going to let him sail through. There's no point fighting him there, just for the pure sake of it's not our race. But we're going to come in a few laps later than that, so on the soft tyre, and now our position will start to tumble just a little bit. We're down to P14, just ahead of our teammate Kimi Räikkönen, who I believe is on the soft tyre as well. But these guys obviously went on to a different strategy than we did, so they've all got to make one more pit stop. So it's kind of just maintaining the gap between all the other drivers and seeing what we can do. We're coming up behind Carlos Sainz really early, and you can see we just had much better traction out of that corner. His tyres aren't that great, obviously ours not exactly up to temperature, but obviously a good enough amount where we can just follow him through that corner with no issues. Lando Norris seems going to be our next victim. We just close up so much through the final corner. DRS akimbo, both of our cars here. We're going to go to the outside, make sure we get the better racing line into turn 1, and we dispose of Norris a little bit. We go a little bit wide to give him a little bit of space, as he's still currently there, and managed to get that job done on him. Now we're looking at line up Lance Stroll, who we actually jumped to the pit stops when we was on the ultra softs, and by the looks of it he's still stuck in traffic, so his race has just gone downhill from here. And obviously we're compiling it on by coming up behind him. We're going to go into this braking zone a lot more comfortable on the brakes and the tyres than obviously he has. The two AS cars are fighting, surprise surprise. You always see them battle on track at least once per race, but going to go into the last corner and they're going to slow each other up, and we're going to get a fantastic opportunity to at least get one of these Haas cars. It's going to be Grosjean we're going to be fighting with here. You can see we're not making that much inroads, and Magnussen's going to come along to block us, which is a really cheeky move by the Haas team. You can see we're really fighting Romain Grosjean for this position. Magnussen again kind of slowing down a little bit, try and give us a bit of wake off of his car and try and unsettle us as we go around Grosjean. But we managed to get that position sorted, but that was some good tactics there from the Haas team, and almost worked out incredibly well. You can see Magnussen here, he's now stuck behind Sergio Perez, so he's going incredibly slowly. You can see we're millimetres away from touching Magnussen, but we're going to go down the inside of K-Mag, probably still a little bit salty from earlier when we dived down his inside, but Perez all over the road at this point. You can see he barely kept it on the track through that double left-hander, so I think at this point their soft tyres weren't looking great. I mean, I know towards the end of this race, because I'm only doing a one stop, I'm not pitting anymore after these soft tyres, so my tyres are going to be shot completely like these guys are. They're struggling a little bit, but he's actually managed to keep well ahead of us down the back straight. Obviously got his ERS a lot higher than we do. We're trying to save back some fuel, because after the first pit stop I don't know why. It just said we had -3 laps in fuel, so I've had to get that back the entire race. Maybe a fuel pump issue or something like that in our engine, so we have to manage that, and hopefully that'll be the only issue we manage for today. You can see coming across the line to start lap 17 for ourselves. We're going to move up and get past a few cars that are in the pit lane. Ricardo being one of them just there, so Ricardo's going to be right on our heels for the rest of the race. We've got about 11 laps, 11, 12 laps, kind of keeping behind, but Ricardo's already going straight for the attack, and he's going to go down the inside. We're going to go for a little bit of a wider line and get kind of like a cut back onto the back straight, and just try and hold on as best as we can. You can see it works to a certain degree, and obviously you get a bit more traction because Ricardo's got fresh tyres. At this point we're struggling as hell, but the idea was just to get in his DRS, bang it up as high as we can on the engine and just get past them. And so far it looks like it's going to work. We're going to have to go to the inside. Ricardo's going to give us a little bit of a squeeze, but we'll chuck it in the first gear to make sure we get round, and that'll be our position. We hold on to 5th place, although considering the tyre situation, I don't think I'll be able to hold him much longer. You can see we get really sideways on the back end. Ricardo's going to have DRS on us, and he's going to absolutely fly past us. There's nothing really much we can do as we watch that Renault just go clean around the outside of us. We can maybe hug the inside and see if we get an opportunity here. It's looking close, but the door's always closing, and we're lucky not to lose any front wing in that instance there. So fair play to Ricardo, braved it out there. We're going to continue on a merry way into P. I believe we're in P5 now, so we was in P4, where we got Pierre Gasly, the man I said would be on a move later on, kind of cutting across us in a little bit. Very cheeky of the French driver there, but we're going to do exactly the same thing we did to Ricardo to see if it works this time. We know we're a lot faster than the Red Bull in a straight line because the Honda engine a little bit less than a Renault, if that makes sense. So you can see we're closing up well early compared to Daniel Ricciardo. But that could have just been the fresh tyres, to be fair. But coming into the hairpin, we've got another yellow flag out in the background, and that's for Max Verstappen, who is now stopped in this race. So Verstappen is actually out of this race. So the only sole Red Bull left is Pierre Gasly. Gasly does the exact same thing as last time. I'm going to try it again, but unfortunately we just do not have the traction to keep up with him. You can see we just drift out wide completely, and that's going to really unsettle us. Lap 23. And we have Lewis Hamilton behind us. We held him up quite a bit last time. I'm not sure how this is going to work. We actually ended up absolutely cocking that up. Ended up being sideways into that corner. So there was no way in hell I was able to keep up with Hamilton on fresh tyres. And especially not in that Mercedes with, so much less drag, so much more engine power going on in that car. And obviously, we're trying to save as much fuel as possible. We didn't even get into a sniff of him in the braking zone, so Hamilton absolutely did us there. You can see the state of our tyres as we come on to the second to last lap. They're just obliterated, absolutely obliterated. Sebastian Vettel sets the fastest lap on the last lap of the race and indeed wins again. So that's 3 wins in a row for Vettel. He's looking feisty, and speaking of feisty, Magnussen is back for revenge of what happened earlier on, but we managed to shut the door on him, and we won't let him through for the rest of the lap. We're going to manage to come home just about with no punctures. It was incredibly close, as you can see. The front left was not having any of it at all. It was very difficult to get around those last few laps, but P7 isn't that bad from 11th place. If you think about how many places I gained, it wasn't that much, but as a whole, I can't really complain. It was okay. Had a better qualifying. I probably could have been a lot higher up, but didn't pick the optimum strategy through the race. I thought it was a good idea at the time, but obviously it didn't pan out that way. But Vettel, back-to-back wins so far this season. At some point it's got to end, and it's not looking very good for Mercedes in the championship at the moment. Kevin Magnussen obviously really happy with that. Good little battle there with Magnussen, obviously with Ricciardo as well. That was a good little scrap we had. But Leclerc getting another podium for Scuderia Ferrari. That bloke hairline is awful, absolutely awful. But it is what it is. End of the day, Vettel's obviously gonna be really happy with that. Hamilton struggling again, so Hamilton's got to have a twist of fortune. He does when it comes to the races back end of the season. He absolutely smashes it out of nowhere. So I'm sure that he'll have a comeback at some point in the season and just absolutely smash it. But these are the drivers and constructors for the season after round 3. That's been it for me, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, guys, take care and bye bye.